Hello, health seekers. Welcome to another episode of the Keto Pro podcast with myself, Richard Smith. Today, I'm joined by someone who needs no introduction, but we'll give him one anyway. Professor Bart Kay, welcome on board.
Well, thank you very much, and it's an absolute privilege and a pleasure as ever, Richard, to talk to like-minded and sensible individuals about stuff and things.
Love it. And the pleasure's all mine. It's we've been looking at arranging this one for quite some time, and I think the list of topics that we could get into would probably keep us chatting all day. But your time is valuable. I've only got 45 minutes of your time. So look, let's get into it. But what I wanted to get into today was your journey and what brought you into the carnivore way of living. If that's how you live, I mean, we can get into this also. I mean, you're incredibly influential in the health space. This isn't the type of industry that you get into to make money, typically. I think it's safe to say if you want to make money, then you'll sell drugs or Mars bars. So, I mean, this has to be something of passion. There must be a reason behind why you do what you do. So hit me with it. Tell me about your story.
Right. Well, I mean, it just depends on how far back you want to go. I was born in 1972, so I was. And things happened between then and when I left school. I went right through and did all the schooling and did a year 12, which is called 7th form in some countries, and did my UE and obviously got entry to university, and then went off instead and worked in petrol stations and played and sang in a rock band for best part of 7 or 8 years. Believe it or not, I had the full ringlets halfway down my back and all of that going on, and it was all about the music.
Love it.
In school, I was the life and soul of the party. It was all singing, all dancing, all performing, all leering up and showing off to my mates and not listening to what was being said. But I have always had one of those memories where I could just retain bits of information and regurgitate them when needed. And so I just kind of rode that and had a ball and chased skirt and, all of that. Suddenly, before I knew it, I was 27. I had no prospects, no qualifications. I did not make it as a rock musician. Shock, horror, I know, incredible.
I'm sure you could have.
Well, I actually could have made it, I'm told, as a classical singer and opera singer had I had my voice properly trained. I had my boy soprano voice trained, which my parents paid for. God knows how they afforded it, frankly, but they did. And the understanding was that when my voice broke, I would be old enough to pay for the training myself. Of course, by that stage, I wasn't interested. But several people have heard me actually sing properly when I'm not just messing about, and they've gone, "You should have got that trained. You've missed a boat there. You could have made a lot of money." Anyway, that's one of a number of mistakes I've made in my life, and some of them bigger than that one, I would say, without any fear of contradiction. Anyway, 27, no prospects, no qualifications, thinking about how am I ever going to get anywhere in life. It was at that stage that I went and started my first undergraduate degree, which happened to be in what they were calling sport and exercise science at the time. And I majored in exercise physiology. And I very quickly realized that this institution of academia that I had been putting up on a pedestal and saying one day I'll go there and be part of this great machine and I'll be the best damn academic there's ever been and all of that. It was pretty, it was probably in my first semester as an undergraduate student that I realized these guys are idiots. The stuff they're trying to teach me, I can dismiss as an untrained person to just go and read the literature myself, apply the scientific disciplines that they've told me exist, the rules, and poke in any number of holes in their ridiculous curriculum that they were trying to teach me. And I was annoyed. But obviously you have to do what you have to do to get that first bit of paper, so I sat through that and did that. Although I was at least annoyed enough to start working on my own independent research program before I graduated with my undergraduate degree. And in fact, my first publication as an independent science author occurred before I was capped. Now that's unheard of.
Yeah.
Does not happen.
What was it on?
It was a study on the fitness of NRL rugby league referees in Australia and New Zealand, where I went to grounds that NRL games were being played, and I was assessing the heart rates throughout the match of the referees, and I was also using footage that was taken from a thing they called Eagle Cam, which was mounted on the grandstand at the halfway line, and it just panned with the play. So I was able to track the movements, direction of movement, mode of movement, speed of movement across the ground of the referee throughout the game, and equate that to the heart rate responses at the time and all of that sort of stuff, and thus publish. It was actually a couple of papers that came out of it that were published around about 2003. Well, the last one was about 2003. I think the first one was about 2001. And it was accepted for publication, I think, the month before I got capped, but not actually published for some months later because it takes time to get these things happening. And anyway, I was able to sort of go and look at how referees actually do move during the game and what their heart rate responses to those movement patterns actually were, and suggest that the training protocols and fitness testing protocols for referees that were being used were entirely inappropriate, as I knew anyway, because I myself was a provincial rugby league referee at the time. And I knew they were wrong. Absolutely wrong. And I knew that guys were getting appointed to games well above their ability to referee, purely on the basis that they could pass an entirely inappropriate fitness test to be qualified to do that game, based on components of fitness that have nothing whatever to do with your ability to referee at all. And of course, here's another, it probably becomes a theme that you'll pick up, Richard. I was annoyed. That's why I did it. To prove every other bugger wrong.
Yeah,
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I've never
Who's
seen
wrong
Bart
in the
annoyed.
world?
Yep.
Yeah. Nobody's ever seen me annoyed or,
Never.
or ranting at the world being wrong about something, have they?
Not at all.
Now, that thread aside, you need to understand that my brother, my older brother, has always been very, very strange. Okay, that's how it is. My sister, somewhat strange, but less so. My father, different story on strangeness, his particular way of interacting with the universe, etc., his thought patterns, the way he communicated, all of that. But nobody thought much of it, because it wasn't a thing those days. It was just, this is a very difficult man, and he has 3 children, and 2 of them are very difficult. When my sister had her first child, some 26 or so years ago, it quickly became obvious that the boy was autistic. No two ways about it. And he was diagnosed pretty early on in life. Yes, this is Asperger's syndrome. That's what's going on here. And then we backfilled and went, oh, well, that's obviously my sister's issue, obviously my brother's issue. And guess where it comes from? Yeah, it comes from Dad. However, I wasn't touched with that brush. I was not autistic. Turns out I actually am. A different form. And it's a long story how we discovered that, but I wasn't considered to have been touched with the autism brush because I didn't have Asperger's like the others. I've just got a different form, which is also in that side of the family genetics, in some of the aunties and uncles and whatever else. So the fact that we didn't work it out, I don't know. Anyway, so I got this diagnosis of a thing called pathological demand avoidance syndrome. I've only got a problem with 50% of those words, pathological and syndrome. So what we're left with is demand avoidance. In other words, you tell me how I must do something, and I will absolutely not do it that way, on principle. I'm hardwired to resist with everything I've got. Tell me how I must think about a given thing, and I will not. Tell me what the facts are, and I will go and find the reasons you are wrong. Absolutely, with razor sharp focus, I will find it. So when they started trying to teach me about physiology, immediately I was like, no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong too. No. And that's where it all kicks off in terms of all of that. So, yes, I'm basically an idiot savant in terms of the physiological stuff, the biochemical pathways, a bit of the physics side of it, the first principles, the rules of engagement in terms of science, statistical inference, all of that stuff. And when I finally decided I was going to quit academia 20 years later, having tried my absolute utmost to change academia from the inside, no. At that stage is when I decided, well, I need to do something. And a friend of mine said, well, why don't you become a social media influencer? I didn't even know such a thing existed. How do you make money doing YouTube? Turns out I was right. You can't make money doing YouTube. You have to be, doing something else as well. We'll get to that later. So I needed something, some sort of hook, because everyone's out there talking about the science and their view on the science, and everybody's banging their credentials and their publication records and whatever else. So I was a moderately successful academic for 20 years. I was not a world-leading academic, mostly because I would not play the game they wanted it played. Not because what I was putting together wasn't good stuff. I think it's great stuff. I think some of it's actually cutting-edge stuff that has ended up in obscure journals and been ignored by people that don't like it, actually. But that's also for another day. So I needed something to get people to watch my channel. Once I decided and understood from my friend what it was and how you actually set up a channel and all of that, because I'm also a technophobe. A bloke in his 50s being asked, wow, what? How do I do that? Anyway, I needed a hook. I needed some kind of way to grab people's attention. And with my sense of humour, I figured, why don't I play this character, the grumpy professor? The one who uses short words and swears at everybody, the one who behaves in a manner that you would not expect an academic professor to behave. I need to get your attention somehow. Then I can educate you by subterfuge before you realise I've done it. And at the same time, it sets up this sectarian thing that people love. Us versus the vegans, or, whatever. So that's why I've been playing that character ever since. Now, if you think back to my earlier past, singing, dancing, theatre, stage work, all of that stuff, music, etc. A lot of people, because I'm really quite a good actor, people don't get it, that this is a character for grabbing your attention, getting the click. Who's wrong on the interwebs? What is he going to call them? What words is he going to use? How is he going to put double banger swear words together today? And then that's how I got started. So that's what got my channel moving quickly, but it's now also the very same thing that I think has a part to play in limiting the size of that channel, because it's It's quite niche. A lot of people find it too confronting. It's too rough. So that's what brings us to where we are now. So these days, I'm quite happy to drop the act for various discussions with various people as appropriate and just be myself. And a lot of people will watch a video like that and go, this is Jekyll and Hyde.
Who's this
Who
guy?
on earth is this guy? Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, that's kind of where we're at. Anyway, where do we go from there? You tell me.
Yeah, so I mean, but you've obviously you wanted to come into this to part the words of wisdom, and I think during the early days you could. So you mentioned about these conditions in which you don't want to be told what to do, and if these are the facts, you'll find reasons that they're not the facts. But is it a case of being confrontational, or is it a case of, well, hang on, I'm going to look into this, and it's the search for the truth. So if that is inaccurate, I will find the truth, because I think many people within the health space, if you believe something, you will find it. If you believe that veganism is good for the planet and highly nutrient dense, and you look on the interweb, this is what you'll find. But what I try to do, which I think you do to a much greater extent, is I try to look for the reasons why my beliefs are not true. So I try to remove everything that could possibly be until we're only left with what I believe to be the truth, at least.
Right, exactly.
Is that a fair case? So I mean, I know you're going against the grain, but it's
Yes.
surely this is the pursuit for the truth.
Yes. So when I was taught the disciplines of science 20 whatever years ago it was, in my first morning of my first undergraduate degree, it's one of the first things they teach, actually. They made it really, really clear. They said, as a scientist, it is your responsibility to disprove your hypothesis. You have to pull out all the stops and do everything reasonably possible to prove yourself wrong. That is the discipline. That is the first one that goes. It's a part of human nature, it seems, where people seem to me to be hardwired to go with confirmation bias, to go with line of least resistance, and certainly not to stick their head above the parapet and be that one who's the squeaky wheel, that one who's saying everybody's wrong all the time, that one's, oh God, what's his problem now? Don't you know this is in all the textbooks? This is what we've accepted. The other thing they taught me about science in that first morning was consensus has absolutely no business in science. None at all. Science is litigated empirically, means numbers, data collected under adequate control, observation, powering, randomization, and all those other things that we as scientists need to do to then be able to put our hand on our heart and say, we have done everything reasonable to control this situation so that we can make an inference about cause and effect. Those are the disciplines that get dropped. And it seems that the thing that makes those disciplines disappear quicker than anything else other than human nature is this stuff.
Yeah.
98% of scientists agree with whoever their funding source is.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I'm sure you do too, but I get a slate in on social.
No, nobody's ever said anything negative about me on social media. Everybody loves me entirely and completely, and nobody ever gets upset by anything I say.
I agree.
Sorry, Richard. Go
I
on.
agree. Yeah, I agree. It's do you know what baffles me is, like, I came into this. I won't bore you too much of this, but I was severely unwell, clinical obese, type 2 diabetic, suffered with chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety, arthritic pains, daily debilitating migraines would make me blind, severe skin conditions, gum conditions, IBS, the list goes on. I could barely walk a flight of stairs without stopping or being severely out of breath. Changed my diet, and all of these things went away. I'm completely medication free. I went on to become a pro athlete, British and European champion, and now I try to prove that my lifestyle is superior in every way in regards to health and well-being, and I'm constantly trying to disprove this. But I've done these things without medication, going against what my doctor has said, going against the advice that the social media and the media in general put out there. But this is what I've done. So those are the facts. I've made these changes, and these are the things that have happened. I've studied, I've retrained. Much of what I was taught was incorrect. But again, you jump through these hoops in order to get these little pieces of paper to allow you to pass these words of wisdom. But I'm a sugar addict. I'm a sugar addict. Now that I'm completely adapted within my lifestyle, I would love to put sugar back in. So I've experimented all sorts of ways. I've experimented with glyco refeeds, back feeding, front loading, you name it, from all different sources. If I could live my lifestyle and eat the foods that I love while putting in some form of carbohydrate, that would be perfect for me. The fact is, every time I try this, something bad happens. It affects me negatively. The end result isn't good. So I end up coming away from it. And I'm left with the diet that I live now. I work with people from all walks of life. So I love meeting people who are damaged. I need to be careful how I say that. I don't want people to be damaged. When sick people come to see me and you make 1 or 2 changes and they change their life, I mean, that gives me satisfaction you can't put a price on. I've worked with thousands of clients who have seen huge improvements, if not complete resolutions. Now, these are the facts. You do these things, this is the result. I try to spread the word on social to show people, well, look, these compounds are causing this damage. Why don't you try living a more of an ancestral appropriate lifestyle? And then you get all of the naysayers, too much protein causes cancer. You shouldn't salt your meals, or you shouldn't consume too much sodium. Saturated fats are going to clog your arteries. And you can't live without carbs, so on and so forth. But these are the results. I'm just talking about my own experiences, the things that I've done. These are the facts. You go away and make up your own decisions. Now, this goes against everything that we're told from the narrative in general. Now, why... Ask yourself a question. Why would somebody go against everything that everybody else says? What have they got to... I'm not making money out of telling people to go and eat meat. Go and eat a piece of steak. There's no money to be made for me in there. So what are the driving force? What are the reasons what I have for doing this? Well, the only other reason that is left is, well, maybe it works. But people are so indoctrinated and so narrow-minded in regards to what is real nutrition and real health that they can't see the wood through the trees. But and that's the frustrating thing, because we get a slate in for the advice that we put out there, but it works. And why don't you just take a step back, look at the research or the counter arguments that you were coming back with, look at what I'm saying, go away and look at it. Because when someone comes with a counter argument to me, much as you do, and coming back to what you just said, you take a look at what they've given you, the paper or the study, and you go through this. And the difference is you look past the title or the author's verdict, and you actually look at the data within there. And quite often, the results of that study do not, they don't tie up to the title on that study or the author's thoughts at the end. And that's the difference. We are constantly looking to disprove the way that we think. But it's frustrating when people give you abuse and death threats. I've had people, if I ever see you in the street, I'm going to kill you. And I'm not doing this for the benefit of my health. I'm living the lifestyle for the benefit of my health, but I'm not telling you to do these changes. What other reason would I have to do it? But people seem so disconnected and indoctrinated and sheep, if you like.
It's mass psychosis formation. It is a programming with malice aforethought put together by the powers that be, precisely in order to make the populace malleable, trainable, controllable, and to feather their own nests. Whereas people like yourself, Richard, and myself are out there swimming against that current because of our love for our fellow man, person, woman, child, or a super intelligent shade of the colour sky blue, pink, however you identify, we don't care. That's what it's about. It's about love for others and about the fact that we know what we know. Absolutely, we know it. And it's, while I'm raging at these idiots that are saying the wrong things, because that's the act, I actually feel a great deal of sympathy, not only for them, because of the damage they're doing to themselves by being basically imbeciles, but the fact that they are going out of their way to drag others down into that same hole. It's the adage with the crabs in the crab bucket at the beach. You put some crabs in a bucket, one of them will eventually start to try and crawl out of that bucket, and all the other crabs will grab onto it and drag it back in. And that's not just crab mentality. Humans do the same thing. It's incredible. Now, your N equals 1 in terms of your health was basically in the can, and now it's not. I'm in the same boat. I have had every digestive disorder just about that you can think of throughout my life. I've had a number of quite serious psychological problems, mental health issues in the past, now all dealt with by a combination of living a life which, I mean, my mantra is I have this thing that's called 5 health hacks you need to know. And it's all about reducing a person's chronic systemic inflammatory overburden. Do that, and 90-something percent, 95% plus of people's health problems just evaporate, dissolve, disappear within 6 months of doing the 5 things I promote. And I always go like that so that you can see that there's 5 and so that you can see the palm of my hand, which apparently makes me more trustworthy.
What are the 5?
The 5 are, in order of priority, and they're not even, because the first thing is the most important and is over half the battle. The second thing is less important than that, but it's still more important than the next 3, etc. By the time you get to 5, it's not that important. And then I stop at 5. I don't even count 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because, well, the top 5 are 95% plus, so why would you? Let's focus on 5 things. Here they are. Number 1, a 100% carnivore diet, or as close to that as you can possibly attain and maintain in your lifestyle. Base it on ruminant muscle meat and associated fat, plus or minus dairy, plus or minus eggs, plus or minus salt and water. Rinse and repeat, basically. As close as you can get to no plant material of any kind coming in. That's number 1. It's the most important. It's most of the battle.
Agree.
The second thing is 3 products from the fine folks at Cerule, which you can obtain at the address that you will find at my left shoulder as we speak. And they are Stem Enhance Ultra, which is a stem cell release agent causing your body to release your own adult stem cells, which then tool around in your blood, find tissues in need of renewal or repair, and whatever tissues they are in your body of any kind whatsoever, except for sperm or eggs, they will become brand new cells of that kind. Not only brand new cells of that kind, but brand new cells of that kind with full-length telomeres. Hello.
Fantastic.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
All right. In Australia and New Zealand, it went live 2 days ago. We have a new formulation of Stem Enhance Ultra, which is called Stem Enhance Hardcore Carnivore.
I like it.
And that's happened at my behest with the fine folks at Cerule. I've sat down with the owners and the powers that be there, and I've said, listen, the carnivores are not that thrilled about the fact that the capsule is cellulose and the flow agent is an inert rice starch for some reason. How about you take out the rice starch, put in silica instead, and how about you change the cellulose capsule for a bovine gel capsule? And they said, fine. Prove yourself in Australia and New Zealand if people want that, and if they do, we'll keep making it as an option. So there you go, Australia and New Zealand people, go and order it so that the rest of the world gets it, because if they don't, they'll be looking at you. Why didn't you buy it? The second product from Cerule is called Psyactive. It is an anti-inflammatory, which works by knocking down the activity of both LOX and COX pathways. And it does that without the side effects that you'll find that the pharmaceutical options will have. And the third product is called Plasma Flow, which dissolves fibrin deposits from your microvasculature, thus allowing things like stem cells to get to where they want to be. Also allows red blood cells to get there and other nutrients that have been blocked up by chronic systemic inflammation. So that's a powerfully synergistic package. That's the one I promote. That's the stuff you need. Get into that. Do that sooner than yesterday, I would suggest. And you can do that in 70 countries and territories around the world just by clicking that link. There, it all happens. Yeah, you click on that, it knows where you are in the world. You give them your name, rank and serial number, credit card details, and tell them you want a wellness pack with those 3 products in it, and they'll send it to you. Too easy. Number 3, the first time I heard it, my response was this: for goodness sake, I'm a scientist. Why are you saying this ridiculous nonsense to me? And the person, to their infinite credit, said to me, well, if you're a scientist, you'll check out whether what I've just said to you is backed by any science or whether it's not. Fair play, I said, you got me, because I'm just reacting on my opinion. And opinions have no place in science, you're quite right. I apologise, I will go and check out. So I did, and I was wrong. Well, I thought I was, but I was mistaken. No, I'm kidding. Here it is, ground yourself electrically. Make a connection between you and the earth electrically. Do that for as long as you possibly can, as much of the time as is possible in your lifestyle. At a minimum, sleep grounded. Ground your bed, have a grounding sheet. You can do that. Anybody can do that because you've got to sleep sometime, so you might as well be grounded while you do it. There are 19 studies of a pilot nature up to some more, even better than pilot study sort of things available, which I have cited in 5 minutes or less explanatory video on my channel called Electrical Grounding and Earthing, What You Need to Know or something. So people can go and have a look at that. And I do Mick the Vegan style splashing up of papers. Here's one that says this, and here's one that says that, and here's one that says the other thing, without analysing any of these papers. I have done, but you need to do that for yourself to decide whether I'm mad or not. Turns out I'm not. Look, if nothing else, Richard, here's this. The very second you ground yourself electrically, the effective viscosity of your blood drops to 1/3 of what it was the second beforehand. Blood is a non-Newtonian fluid which has variable viscosity based on a number of factors, including how much your red cells clump together. If you ground yourself electrically, your body will absorb a bunch of electrons out of the earth into your body. They will coat the red blood cells, thus repelling each other equally and evenly, spreading the red blood cells through your blood against the Faraeus Lindqvist effect, which is that effect by which if you pump blood under pressure, the red cells will clump together into the middle of the lumen, leaving a space outside that's just plasma. There's where the thickness is. If you cause the electrical activity of those cells to repel, the electromagnetic forces to repel those little cells out so they spread back out through the blood, the blood thickness, the viscosity drops, factor of 3. Or to 1/3, I should say.
Incredible. Sleep
improves. Aberrant cortisol profiles return to normal. Healing is expedited from injuries of all sorts. Your brainwave activity shifts from alpha to delta. Fight and flight to rest and recuperate. Blah, 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 blah. 19 different papers. Go and look at that video and you can find those papers and read them for yourself. So I was wrong. That person that told me I should ground, you should ground.
I agree.
I do. I sleep grounded, and I have a grounded mouse pad on my desk here so that when I'm working I can be grounded while I'm doing that too. So that takes out many hours a day on those days that I'm in the office.
I didn't even know you could get a mount. You'd have to send me the link for one. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Can do. Yeah, can do. It's just a mouse pad with an electrical connection that's just a push-in connection that either you can plug into a 3-pin socket, or preferably, as I do, you can put it in a stake in the ground outside, because we're in a fully detached property at ground level, so that's easy.
Yeah.
Also, in New Zealand, we live in sheds rather than proper buildings, and our windows are wooden and our walls are wooden, and there's gaps in the windows, so you can put thin wires through the windows and still close the window, no problem. So that works well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I say, that's days that I'm in the office that I'm doing that, because these days I actually have to split my week in half now, because I've just bought a farm. Nuts.
I was wondering about that because, yeah, I've seen lots of posts with your sheep. And, yeah, we can get into that. Well, yeah, we'll get into that in a bit.
Sheeps and goats and cows and birds of all kinds and all sorts going on here.
Living the dream.
Awesome. Well, I bought this thing and I said to one of my mates, I've bought this lifestyle property. And he looked at me and said, no, you bought a life sentence, Brock. It's a life sentence property, that's what it is. And we got here and it's been left fallow for about 9 months, and so we've got to bang it back into shape. And there's a lot of work. Anyway, that's for another day.
Sounds brilliant.
So that was number 3. Ground yourself electrically as often as you can, as long as you can. Yeah. The 4th thing is another thing that I reacted to in a similar way. I was like, what are you talking about? And it was to block all wavelengths of blue light from your eyes after sundown or before sun up, i.e. when it's nighttime. Again, I went, what are you talking about? Light. Blue light at nighttime. How can that possibly cause a problem? Well, turns out there's a receptor in the back of your eye called melanopsin, which detects blue light. When that detects blue light, it sends a message to your brain telling your brain it's daytime, because that's when blue light happens. At night, when the sun goes down, the blue's supposed to go away. And if it never does, that messes up your circadian rhythm, and it causes inflammation, hormonal disturbance, sleep disturbance, stress and distress, elevated blood pressure, all sorts of problems. So, easy to deal with. Blue blockers. And by the way, when you get blue blockers, they will be dark amber, or orange if you like, in colour. They will not be clear with a sort of blue haze on them. We have these computer blue blockers that block the blue but don't distort your colour vision. No, you don't. If you can see blue, it's not blocked, is it? Yeah. Physics again. If you block blue, the thing that's absorbing the blue will itself appear amber and orange and will distort your colour vision. Because that's the whole point. We're blocking the blue. If you can see it, it's not blocked. I would have thought that was pretty obvious. But anyway, don't get sucked into that. Get dark amber, proper blue blockers. You want to block everywhere between 350 and 500 is the wavelength range that you want to block in the colour spectrum. You can also get light bulbs that have the blue removed. Harry Sopanos does that. I think they're about $30 Australian a bulb though, and I'm like, well, Harry, that's fine. You go ahead and do that. We'll just put the lenses on personally. Yeah. Fine and dandy. So that's number 4, and number 5 is 4 sessions per week, 45 minutes total session time, HIIT and or resistance training modalities at the top end of your spectrum of intensity, probably such that you've got a work to rest ratio of 1 to 5. Whole body split every time, no body splits, none of that nonsense. It's not about hypertrophy training, it's not about any of that nonsense. It's about basic functional strength, and it's about hormonal responses to that. Please don't do a bunch of aerobic stuff, so-called aerobic stuff, the middle zones of intensity. Stay the hell out of there. That's not good for you. So you can walk at very low intensity all day if you want to. That's no skin off my nose or yours. Or you can work at very, very high intensity, the top end of your individual work spectrum, but stay out of the middle. Don't go there.
Yeah.
That's my top 5. And then people say to me, oh, what about this? What about that? What about the other thing? And I say, well, it's number 6 or lower and it's less than 5%, but you go and you do you. If that's the answer for you, fine. But the top 5 that I've just outlined there works 95% plus of the time for every client that's come to me with every complaint except anything that's genetically predetermined. And even then, those 5 things can ameliorate the symptoms of the genetic thing without actually solving it, because you can't solve a genetic thing with your own stem cells which have the same genetic. That makes sense, doesn't it? So that's my 5.
Yeah, perfect. And look, I agree with the training, and it's I went into bodybuilding when I began my journey to prove a point. I went on to become British European champion. Then I came away from that, and you're going to shoot me when I tell you the next part. I was asked by a club that I was working with, Ironman athletes, if living this lifestyle is so good, come and prove it. So I did. I joined the club and I started running and cycling, and I became quickly one of the best runners and cyclists in the club. I hate running. I don't mind cycling, but endurance work, I believe, is counterintuitive. I don't believe it to be optimal for health. I did this to prove a point, and now I'm coming away from this in order to go into more high intensity sort of stuff. High rocks, I'm training in at the moment. But what I noticed with the running, it affected my cortisol. I started to, despite the amount of miles that I was running, I started to gain fat around the midsection, which I haven't had for many, many years living the lifestyle. I don't think we're designed to do any one extremity. So bodybuilding, that's not healthy. Getting to 2% body fat isn't healthy. From an evolutionary perspective, we wouldn't have been huge and muscle bound because we wouldn't be able to hunt and catch our prey. And then the opposite is also true. We're not designed to run 26 miles, sub 6 minute miling, because that's not what we would have done during our evolutionary period. Now we're too small, we're too lean, we're too weak to catch our prey that we've just killed to carry back. So I think any one extremity is not ancestral appropriate. And I think HIIT style training is definitely the way to go. I understand that some people like to do things outside the box, but I don't think it's optimal for health. I'm a big believer in 45 minutes in the gym, get in, smash it, and get out. It's and especially if we are carnivore because of gluconeogenesis, and it's driven by cortisol. If we train for too long, running, endurance sports, then we damage the HPA axis and our body's ability to create glucose via gluconeogenesis. Yes, there are other pathways, but this, I think, is one of the reasons why some of the influencers within the health space criticize the carnivore journey, because one, they don't understand. And again, this is probably a talk for another day. We'll open a can of worms if we get into this. But yeah, HIIT training. Stick with the HIIT. Get in hard and get it done. But completely agree. So those are your top 5, and we'll put all of those links below. It's interesting, the changes that you made to Cerula, and the fact that you have that much of a presence within the space to make changes. I make product. As you know, I make electrolytes, MCTs, exogenous ketones. It costs money to do that. It costs a lot of money. So the fact that company have taken on board what you've said means that the product that you recommend to your clients is working at a scale that I can't even imagine. So it's, that commands a lot of respect.
Oh, look, I couldn't have imagined where the Cerule business, or my association with the Cerule business, would have taken me even 5.5 years ago when I started talking about this stuff. I was going to say when I discovered it. That's not true. I actually discovered the predecessor to this product 15 years ago.
Wow.
And I was taking it myself for 10 years before I ever decided, okay, I'm actually going to promote this stuff. I'm going to become an affiliate to the company. I'm going to spread this. There were 2 reasons I did it. Number one, first of all, my YouTube channel was going to be absolutely clean of any kind of promotion of any product. I was going to be the best damn YouTuber there's ever been, and I was going to make my millions because everyone was going to want to watch what I was going to do on YouTube.
If only.
Second, I got some kind of traction with the act I was doing with the Grumpy Professor and the swearing at people and stuff. And I got notoriety, and I was known a bit. But then that was around about the time that the thing happened in society where they tried to lock everything down and basically destroy people's ability to earn an income, and so the income from the YouTube dropped even from what it was at that stage. And I thought, well, because at that stage I wasn't working otherwise, this was my only occupation, so I've got to do something. I suppose I might as well talk about cerebral, and then I rationalised it to myself. Actually, I'm being selfish, not telling people about it, because this stuff has absolutely changed my life health-wise. So I started talking about it on my channel about 5.5 years ago. Just not even hard sell, not pushing it down anyone's throat in any sort of serious way. Just to sort of say, look, do you guys know this stuff exists? Here's what it is, here's what it does. Here's the link, it's at my left-hand shoulder right now. Go there, buy the stuff, or if you're not ready to buy the stuff, there's more information there if you like, or get back to me and I'll answer any questions you've got, that's fine. Anyway, what were we talking about? The weather. That's it. And I guess it's because I'd kind of formed a relationship with the people that will watch my channel beforehand, so they had some trust for me. Shows very poor judgment on their part, I must say, but there you go. And they actually just went there in the droves and started ordering the stuff and buying the stuff and joining as affiliates in their own right so that they too could make some money if they wanted to, and all of that kind of stuff, and talking about it to people they know, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, 5.5 years later, I have cerebral business attributable to me that I get paid a commission on a monthly basis in, I think it's 50 different countries and territories around the place. I'm getting paid 24/7 by people ordering up in various parts of the different time zones and stuff, when I'm awake, when I'm asleep, whatever else. It is a mid-range, six-figure passive income, which I never could have dreamed. And it's not because I'm taking advantage of anybody. In fact, everybody that gets this product is getting a great deal, a great product that does exactly what it says it does on the tin. There are so many people that get back to me and thank me from the bottom of their hearts because the stuff has changed their entire outlook over and above what carnivore is able to do for them. Because carnivore cannot, in and of itself, repair your body in the way that stem cells can. It's changed my life entirely, completely, both health-wise and now financially as well. And it is a thing that's available to anybody that wants that. That's the beauty of it. A lot of people say, oh yeah, but well, I don't have your background. You don't need my background. What you need is to repeat exactly what I say to your people, which is, hey, listen, did you know your body renews and repairs itself using a system of adult stem cells that unfortunately, as we age, winds down? Isn't that terrible? Wait for a positive response, no matter how long it takes. Well, yeah. Here is a product that reverses that terrible trend in your health. Isn't that great? Wait for a positive response or any kind of response, no matter how long it takes. Because they will respond if it comes too uncomfortable not to. I'm overplaying it, obviously, for the purpose of the thing. And the third thing is, well, that's where you get it from, there. Or if you join us, you get your own URL when you sign up, and you say that's where you go to get it. And then you get paid.
Yeah.
Plus, when the people click on that and say, I want to buy the stuff, before you buy it, it says to them, hey, listen, do you want to join us and make some money as well? They have to say, no, I don't want to do that. And a lot of people do. That's fine. We love customers. They're great. That's where most of the profit is. But also, there is the opportunity for you to make some money too if you want to. Anyway, that's it. That's my whole pitch on all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you made an important point that it's if there's something that you believe in, it's selfish of you not to promote that. I get a similar thing in regards to whenever I go live, do podcasting, whatever it is, I don't speak about product at all because, again, same as you, number one is the diet, the lifestyle. Those are the single biggest levers that you can pull. And I believe that you can achieve optimal health and well-being by doing so. But there's always extra levers that you can pull. And I guess it's similar with cerebral. I've created products that I believe confer benefits, and should someone ask me about such, I will tell them. But I barely mention product unless somebody asks during a live. And you've been on the lives previously. We don't mention product, but Steve, good friend of both of us, Steve said to me one day, well, why not? If you've created this thing for you to use, or you use it yourself, why are you not telling other people? Because it's selfish not to. And that's all you're doing with something that you've been taking and something that you believe in. And it is selfish of you not to promote it. So whether people want to think, that we're just here to sell product, that's not the case at all. And you've just said yourself, the single biggest lever you can pull is your diet. Beyond that, the additional levers are the products such as Cerule. So I will pop that link below. And we're coming up on the hour, and it's gone quick. It's gone far too quick, because I had
always does.
another 1,000,001 questions that I wanted to get into, especially in regards to your personal journey, because you've had a health journey yourself with weight loss and health improvements. We'll get into this on another call.
Well, call my people. These are my people. Send him an email, and he'll give you a time slot. And look, I'm always, anytime I can help Richard with anything, just sing out, and I'll be there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, look, there's lots we could go into. I'm not going to hog your time. I'm incredibly respectful of your time. Super busy. So, Bart, thanks for coming on. Absolute pleasure. I think this is the first of many now that you've opened the door for me to reach out. So where can people find you? Obviously, for those who don't know, you are on YouTube. Where can people find you on YouTube and any other socials?
You just punch in at Bart, BART -KAY. The first 10 pages of results will be me.
Perfect.
Easy.
As easy as that. Perfect.
Yeah, and all my other links for everything else are in the show notes under every single one of my videos. I've also got 5 other YouTube channels where I'm doing other things that people might be interested in too, if you like.
Perfect. And I'll pop all of those below. Bart,
beautiful. Right, pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure, my man. Thanks again. Great to see you. Take care.
Cool.
And I will chat to you soon.